Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's a horse thing. Today I am doing what you guys have been waiting for, like, for the last 2 weeks. I'm gonna be going over and rating y'all's repaints, which can I just say thank you guys so much for sending me these and like trusting me to look at your repaints, because I was a little nervous there because I put the post up and the first 2 days I didn't get anything, but then the next day I got like 10 submissions. But thank you guys. I'm so glad you guys let me look at these. They're absolutely awesome. And just quick thing. So since I do have a grading chart, I'm not gonna say I'm super harsh, but if you did not get a check on something, I did go over what I think you should do in detail. So just so you guys know, I am giving a lot of feedback. So I hope you guys are okay with that. I mean, of course you guys submitted them, so I'm hoping that's okay. And also, I'm so sorry if I butcher your name like terribly. I tried to pronounce everything the best I could, but I apologize if I got it wrong. So now let's get into the video, which is what y'all have been waiting for. I have a Bluebrook West Stables, which this was on the Knapstrapper Stallion, which you made this model actually look pretty good, because I personally really don't like this model. I think he just kind of looks a little bit long and like a hot dog, but I mean, he looks pretty good. So creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Eyes, it just looks like a blob of black, so I do wish you had a little bit of white here, and then maybe added in some color right here, and then all of that be black. So I'm not seeing, I'm seeing a solid color hoof, which is a little hard to tell with the shadows through here, but, yeah, so if you had added a little bit of brown here, or if you had metallic paint, then the little strip of horseshoe at the bottom. Alright, so shading, again, you can use acrylics if you just blend it super well, although I do recommend pastels. They are literally amazing, and they're really not that much cost-wise. So you could have added some on the shoulders, some on the back, some underneath. Although you did add some on the legs, which I appreciate very, very much. Although I do wish you had added some on the joint area right there. Some on the muzzle, some around the eye. And yeah. So I will give you a half point on shading there. Markings. The only marking I see is on the face, which I wish you had done a little bit of herring right here, although otherwise it does look pretty good. Mane and tail, I'm seeing it as a solid color, so I do wish you had added some darker and lighter colors mixed in here. Coat color looks pretty good. Realism, give you a half point there. And then I don't see any chestnuts over here. So thank you, Bluebrook West Stables. Your overall score is 4.5. Now we have A-Town, who did the why did I put 2014? Okay, I'm not sure why I did that. However, they did use clay and paint, which I don't know much about that kind of paint, honestly. So, creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Eyes, let me look. Okay, so I do see a little bit of white. Ooh, I completely covered it, right there. You know, you can, if I make an arrow, yeah, right there. So I will give you a check on eyes, because that actually looks pretty good. Hooves, okay. So you did add, not just one color there, although I do wish there was just a little bit more blending here at the bottom, but that is also a personal preference. I'll give you a check on hooves, or even just blend that strip down a little bit more. Shading looks amazing. You did it all up here, you did it through the leg, you did it on the shoulder, you did it on the face, you did it on the neck. It looks really, really good. Markings, you don't have any markings. Oh, I mean, I guess we can count all of this. Markings look good. Mane and tail. I wish you had, again, added some highlights and lowlights with some lighter colors. You could have just taken, like, you could have had that pale color as your lightest color, and then had something a little bit darker as your base, and then something even darker brown as your low light. Coat color looks great. Realism, yes. And then I cannot see any chestnuts here. I am so sorry, but I can't see it. So I don't know what to do about that. Thank you, A-Town. Your overall score is an 8 out of 10. So next up we have Lance Adolfo. Sorry. I told you guys I would butcher these names. I'm not entirely sure how to say that. So for creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Can I just say I also love your background. It looks really nice. Eyes. Okay, thank you. You did add some white in the corner right there. So I will give you a check on that. Hooves. These hooves are very brightly colored. So I do wish it was maybe even add some white or a little bit of brown to kind of dilute the color because they do look very, very orange. And then a little bit of brown on the bottom or even just some stripes, something to kind of not have it just be a solid color. You said you did use airbrush and pastels. So you might have used an airbrush in the very beginning part. I'm not entirely sure. However, the areas where you did add shading, it is yellow. So I'm not I didn't circle this one either. I'm not entirely sure why it's yellow. Same with shading around the eyes. I probably would have used, if I did use yellow, I probably would have made it more of a browny yellow and not so much a neon yellow. I would also use a very light gray and kind of do it up here. Same here on the joints, the neck. I do appreciate the shading on the muzzle though. That looks really good. And thank you for the shading on the eye. I just wish it wasn't that color. But I will give you a plus for that because you did do it. There's just a little bit of tweaking. Markings, yeah, nothing is a straight line because I'm counting these as markings, and it does look pretty good, so I'm going to give you a plus on that. Mane and tail, thank you for having the highlights and the lowlights. There you have the white as the highlights and then the black as the lowlights, and you blended it all together beautifully. It looks amazing. Coat color looks good. Realism, yes. Bonus details, I don't see any chestnuts, y'all. Those are very, very important. So thank you, Lance. Your overall score is an 8 out of 10. Oh, what was that? 8 out of 10. So next we have an equestrian, I think is how you say that. I'm so sorry if I didn't say that right. This photo is not the best photo because this was used in a short. So I was trying not to include the like and dislike button off to the side. Creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Eyes, they look like a solid black. So again, I wish you had added a little bit of white right there or some color or something else. Hooves, solid color as well. Wish you had added stripes or some brown on the bottom or horseshoes or something else. That although the color is like spot on. Maybe a little peachy, but that does look really good. Shading. Okay, you also said you used pigmented powder, and I'm trying to figure out where. You might have used it up on the muzzle. Okay, so I wish you had done it through here, through this area. It does look like you did use it on the legs in there and here. So just remember, when you do shading is the whole horse. It's not just the face, it's not just the legs, it's not just underneath the stomach. It's going to be the back, it's going to be the shoulders, it's going to be the neck, it is going to be the legs like you did. It's going to be the eyes, it's going to be the muzzle, which it does look like you added some right there. But it's going to be all over the horse, so I'm going to give you a half point on that. Markings. Okay, so right here is a straight line, but over here you have a little bit of herring detail, so I wish you had kept that up everywhere else and not made this such a straight line or this such a straight line, or this is just a straight line all the way through. Just take a very small detail brush. I think for a little bit I used a toothpick until I got fine detail brushes, and I just put a little bit on the end and very gently did that just over and over the markings like that. So I will give you a half point there. because you did do it in some areas. The mane and tail, so there's not much I can say here. Although what I do remember is that they were solid color from when I saw it. So again, highlights and lowlights, and the tail, something that's a little bit lighter, something that's a little bit darker. Mix that in, since your horse does have markings, you could have also added white in there as well. Coat color looks good. Realism, I will give you a half point on that. Bonus details, your finger is covering the only place where I could have checked. I'm gonna have to say no on that. By the way, going back to shading, it looks like you did have pink on the muzzle up there, so thank you very much for that. I love the pinky part on the horse. It just looks very good with the black and white and gray. So thank you. Your overall score is a 4.5. Next up, we have Caitlyn and Cookie. So you guys also just used acrylics on the Frisian Stallion, which this is such a popular model, so I'm glad you have him. So Caitlyn, assuming that's who wrote to me, they said that they did this mostly for fun, so there wasn't really much of a specific horse here, so I'm just going to go based off of what I see. Creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Eyes, again, they look like a solid black, so I wish you had added a little bit of white right over there. Hooves, it doesn't look like they're a solid color, because this looks like a gray, and then the rest of this looks like a brown. So if you had just taken almost a tan color, mix that in, added stripes, something like that I think would have done good, but I am going to give you a half point because I can't exactly tell there. Shading, so I get that he's a black horse, but there's not much I can say there. The only thing I would have said, if I could use a little bit of pink on the muzzle right here. Markings, okay. I wish you had gone over the markings a little bit more and made them a little bit more solid, because right now they are very patchy and see-through. And they're also kind of all over the place. So if you were going for a paint or a Tobiano or something like that, I wish you had made it a little bit more solid and added in those herring details. The mane and tail, also I get that he's a black horse, but you could have added some gray in here, or even white, since he does have markings. You could have added some white mixed in here and something like that. Coat color, he's black, he looks pretty good. Realism, I'll give you a half point there, and then I do not see any chestnuts here. Thank you, Caitlyn and Cookie. Your overall score is a 4 out of 10. Next up, we have I Love Horses 5970. So they also just used acrylics, and the lighting is very, very dark. So I'm going to go over it the best I can, because I actually have this model, so I know what she looks like. I'm not sure if you completely repainted her, or if you just added some small details over the Schleich horse and just added some details there, because this is a lot of what the original model looks like. Creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Eyes, looks like a solid black, so again, could have added a little bit of white in the corner. Hooves, these also look solid colors, so if you could have added stripes or some brown, and on the darker ones, just a little dark brown added here would have been nice as well. Shading, you do have black shading on the legs here and on the muzzle, so thank you for that. However, you could have also taken brown and done it here, come down in the middle like that. The neck, the joints, and around the eye, and I think that would have looked pretty good too, so I will give you a half point there. Markings, they are decently jagged. I just wish they had a little bit more herring like that, and although the strip looks good, because those don't usually have little hairs poking out from what I've seen, so I will give you a half point there. Mane and tail, oh, it's so hard to tell. So you do have, it looks like blue, which the original was green, so you did redo that. If everything looks like it's a solid color here, so again, if you could have taken a lighter brown and put it in here, and something like that, I think it would have looked really good and just kind of made it pop a little bit more. Coat color looks great. Realism, I will give you a half point there. And then I do not see any chestnuts, y'all. However, she does actually look pretty good. So thank you, I Love Horses. Your overall score is a 4.5. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Yes, okay. Thank you. So this is Renee Ware 474. I hope I said that right. So this kind of touched my heart a little bit because this horse was made to be like Aztec from Horseland, which Horseland was like something I watched all the time when I was much younger. So this really hit home. Thank you for making a horse that looks like this because that show is getting old. I love them, by the way. So creativity, yes. Effort, yes. Eyes. Okay, your eyes actually look pretty good because I can see some white in the corner over there, and then you can see the black, and it looks like you might have a little bit of brown on the right-hand side, but it's a little hard to tell. And then it looks like you do have white over there as well, so I'm going to give you a check there. Oh, I didn't give you one for effort. Okay. Hooves, or I clicked the back button. These look like they, oh, no? Is this a metallic horseshoe? Because none of these have horseshoes. Okay, and it looks, unless you blended it in, you might have used more than one color. It is a little hard for me to tell because you might just blend it in really well, but you could have done stripes or something a little bit more prominent to look like mud, so I will give you a half point there. Shading, y'all, eyeshadow. I was checking to see if you used anything else, which, good job on the clay making the mane, because that actually looks pretty good. The only thing I would say is if you take, let me think, a toothbrush you haven't used, or a sharpened pencil. I have used a pencil, unfortunately, or a toothpick or something like that, and you just make little indentations. If you have a toothbrush, just run it down over the mane, or if you have a toothpick, just make little lines down. That didn't even show up. Little lines inside of it. That way it doesn't look so blocky. Although the resculpting does look really good, because personally, resculpting is very, very hard to do. Back to shading. If you had taken a light brown, because he is a cream color, just taken a light brown and gone around the back, the joints, a little bit down here, underneath, in the middle. It looks like there is some on the muzzle, but it's a little hard to tell, and then some on the eye. And that would have really just put it over the edge. I'm going to give you a half point on this. I do love the blue. I just wish it did have some highlights and lowlights again, so maybe the highlights would have been something closer to the body color, or you could have had a darker brown that matched something a little bit more like your hooves and just blended that in here. Although, again, the blue looks great. Coat color, yes. Realism, okay, let's be honest, you're not going to find Aztec in real life. However, relating it to the show, I'm going to give you a half point there. In bonus details, I do not see any chestnuts here. So thank you, Renee. Your overall score is a 5.5. Alright, so I had one more late submission, so I'm recording this after half of it has already been edited and filmed. Yeah, so thank you. This next submission is by It's Ponies. So they use the Schleich Walsh Stallion and acrylics with chalk pastels. I am so glad to see chalk pastels under that medium's description. So first off, creativity, yes. Effort, yes. That check was way off. Eyes, oh no. Okay, I'm like, I can't do this here. Okay, so it does look like you have the white part in the back, and then you have that a little black circle in the middle. So that looks really good, actually. Again, if you wanted to add color, you could have the white here and then the white there, and put some black and then color on top of it and the black back on top of that. I know that sounds really complicated, but if you wanted to add color, you could. However, I am going to give you a check on that. Hooves. Okay. By the way, I love the ground, but your hooves look like they are a solid color, although it's pretty hard to tell considering the ground is the exact same color. So again, as I've said before, I would try and take a darker color or a lighter color and just do that at the bottom here, or if you wanted to make the hooves stripe, put some stripes in it. Shading. So okay, so you do have shading on the legs here and in the front. Yeah, I'll circle that too, which looks really good. Yeah, that's about it for the shading for the legs. And then I can't tell if this is a marking or shading. It looks like it's just a marking. And you may have added chalk pastel on the eye right here. It's also a little hard to tell. Everything is just kind of the same color, which don't worry about it. But so with your chalk pastel, I'm not sure if you only have black or if you have another color, or if you did use some in all the other areas, chalk pastel, just make sure it's a dark enough color where it'll show up, because you could have taken a dark brown and put it on the back here and underneath the stomach, the neck as well. I know most of it is covered by the hair, but you still could have put some a little bit down here. You could have done the front of the muzzle. Even if you are covering with the marking, you would still see a little bit right there. Yeah, that's where else I would add it, but thank you for adding shading on the legs, so I'll give you a half point there. Markings. Okay. So one face marking. I would try and make it a little bit more solid. It does look a little patchy, so I think if you added a little bit more white over it, it could have stood out a little bit more than it did. And then it looks like you do have some jagged spots like that, so I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I'm not sure if it's just that the photo is blurry, but you could also take, as I said, a toothpick or a really fine detail brush and just add a little bit of herring in there as well. But I will give you a half point on markings. If I can get over here. There we go. Oh, I didn't add a half point on shade, or I backed it up. Okay. Mane and tail. Okay, this looks like it is a very nice fade. From what I can tell, you went from a light brown to a much darker brown. I'm not sure about the mane. This looks lighter, but I could be wrong. It's going to give you the same tips just in case. Take a lighter color with the dry brush technique, just a dry brush and some paint, a tiny little bit of paint, and just run the brush over it. Or you can blend it in. Like if my paint's wet and I really just don't want to wait, I'll put a little bit of paint on it and then I'll lightly run it over and it'll create little streaks and it'll blend in a little bit better. And you could have done that here, although I do like the fade down here if that's what you did, and up there. It looks very, very nice. I'll give you a full point there because it does look pretty good. Coat color looks amazing. Realism, yes. And the bonus details, chestnuts. I can't tell if that's one or not. I mean, it stands out because it was black. Unless you just missed a whole patch of shading. I took the check off. Unless you just missed a whole patch, it looks like chestnut. So I'm going to give you a check there, but let me know if that was a chestnut or not, because I can't tell. So your overall score is an 8 without chestnuts, but a 9 if you do have them. Thank you. It's Ponies for your submission. He looks awesome. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please click the subscribe button down below, click the like button, leave a comment, and leave a video suggestion if you have any. I really need video suggestions. If you guys can leave me anything. If you did submit your repaint and there's something you have a question about or want to ask or say, go ahead and leave it in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you guys so much for watching. And again, thank you guys for all your submissions. Bye. Please consider checking out my Etsy shop if you're interested. My shop name is Care Horse Crafts. I sell custom model horses and tack, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye.